job. So, we all know labels. Sometimes labels turn into stereotypes. So if you're watching the news, and by me living in Ensley, people that live in Ensley get real offended real quick, because anytime something happens on the western side of Birmingham, it's Ensley. I've seen it on Twitter, I've seen it on news posts on Facebook. There's been times I've emailed or tweeted back a news station to say, actually, that's not Ensley. That address is actually in this community. Could you please retract that? So a lot of times you may see, the robbery was done by a black male, blah, 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 blah. It's like, okay, I get it, but sometimes it's the way it's said. Thug. Let's look at some of these. Thugs. Somebody said my least favorite word, racist code word, slang that teenagers use sometimes, lowriders, gang member, ratchet, Blaq, troublemaker, tough, ghetto, Black, ghetto, tough, gang, violent, drugs, money, predominantly used as a replacement for derogatory terms for black people. What do y'all think? All those built in some kind of truth? You think? Maybe not?
I mean, I guess it depends on how we're looking at it, because you could also think back to like, I don't know, I'm not good with history, but like at one point, I feel like thugs would have not even been thought to be black. It would have been like white men in top hats and oversized suits with big like guns.
Right. Any other thoughts?
I would, just a little more personally, but I would agree with Dasha. Like, if you had asked me, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, I probably would have had a more racial approach to that word. I probably would have thought of a black person, because of the way that, just the way bias played out in my head. Now I swear the only time I see thug used is by someone who is using it in a racist way.
Right.
And so now whenever I hear thug, I'm almost biased. As soon as someone says thug, I'm almost immediately biased, probably unfairly in some cases, against their argument.
Okay.
As soon as they say thug, I'm like, all right, well, this person's not promoting a thoughtful argument.
Right.
That is my visceral reaction to it.
Okay. Anybody else with thug?
I think with that, it's funny, like I've, over the years, working with kids, like I'll often be like, what is that word? Tell me what you mean by that.
Yeah.
So I think when I heard that, when I was thinking about the way, like, I hear students describing their peers.
Gotcha.
And for me, like, as I understand it, like when they're using thug to describe their peers, it's always been something about the way they dress.
Okay.
But like you had ratchet up there, I was like, what does that mean? They're like, we don't want to tell you. I was like, but I feel like I need to know. I feel like this is going to be something I need to understand at some point. So.
And then even when you're going into communities, even though you may not be using a term, it may be good to understand what it means and where it comes from. Me working with young people, they say stuff and I'm like, okay, what? And I'm a big music person, but a lot of this hip hop mess that's out now, I don't understand most of it. So I hear different terms and I'm like, we lit about what? What we lit on? It's like, what is that? And it's like, oh, Miss Marie, it means this. It's like, oh, okay, gotcha. Okay, we didn't use that term. I'm teen of the 90s, so we use other terms, but understanding what they're talking about so you can follow what's going on.
Because even thinking about like what you hear from the students as when they use it, it doesn't necessarily mean that like someone else can use it in that same way and it meaning the same thing. And so
Exactly. And then when you start going cross cultures and being able to understand, okay, what does this mean? Okay, why are they doing this way? You gotta be open to understanding when stereotypes are mean and hurtful, when it's based in some type of truth, and then when it's used to hurt. Let's look at-risk teen. Probably one of my favorite terms that gets on my nerves, probably to the level that thug gets on yours. Funny, full of life, self-reflective, diverse experiences, loyal, Black kids, kids with limitless potential, walls up, disciplinary, trouble in school, delinquent, babies, troublemaker, vague, potential, what's the risk, resilient. Now, I work with teens of all socioeconomic backgrounds, all different shades. And I tell them kids in Woodlawn are just as much at risk as kids in Rossbridge. Just as much as being at risk. Because they're young, they're hormonal. We all were at risk youth. We all, you may not, oh, I did this, I was straight laced and da. Yeah, but let the right situation happen and you go fly off the deep end. So to me, they're all at risk. So when you're going into a school or a community and it's like, well, this is a school full of at-risk youth, what picture is that painting? Now you're coming in with a defense up if you're not checking your bias and how you view this label and that term. Over the mountain, wealthy, snobbery, giant SUVs, old money, naive, rich, hippity, disconnected, privilege, mountain brook, money, white, fake, ashamed, white, rich, white, out of touch, highway 280, what is this?
Well-intentioned bigots.
Well-intentioned bigots.
Oh my gosh, you're
I don't want to talk about nobody in particular, but a lot of times you have individuals who are coming from what we deem as over the mountain or communities outside of downtown Birmingham that are pouring their money, whether it be through donations, whether it be through the organizations that they work through, into organizations that are helping kids that may be seen as at-risk or thugs. We need to change the Birmingham school city. We need to change Birmingham City schools. So we're gonna pour this money in. We gotta get those kids back in the direction they need to be in. So what happens is, you have people who are totally disconnected from what's actually happening, trying to change a community through what I call puppet strings, which is their money. But as service providers, we have to be careful as when we go in that even though that may be their attitude, that attitude is not transferred to the students or to the community that you're serving, even though they may think that way. And sometimes it's hard to fight that when you're in a situation of receiving funds, but you have people like me, community activists who don't really have anything to lose, who you can always reach out to and will make a fuss. But understanding that you have people that are out of touch who don't see it. They're looking based off of labels. They're looking at media contradictions. They're looking at narratives that tell a different story. So even going back to the word thug, and all these things that came up, ratchet, ghetto, tough, all this stuff. For me, when I hear thug, no matter when I hear it, the first thing that I think about is Tupac, because I was a teen of the 90s. And his whole thug life ideals and it just wasn't a tattoo. He actually had a plan that he wanted to implement into Black communities. So when I hear thug, that's what I go to. So we just have to be conscious of what we have in our brains. We'll come back to that one. Religious. Holy, priest, judgmental, conservative, judgmental, Christian church, Christian, body, gender shaming, believes in God, overbearing, uptight, community grandma, dogmatic, conservative. You're gonna deal with people like this. We live in the South, we're in Alabama. Depending on what time of the year it is, it's either God and football or football God. Depending on where we are in the season. If you're new to Alabama, get ready for it. Hopefully you picked a side by now. But we have to understand that you have people who are real up here with their beliefs. Unfortunately, sometimes their actions and their attitudes towards people are a little further down. And we've seen that in history with the Klan. The Klan group built off Christian principles, allegedly, but putting up crosses and burning them in front of people's yards. That's a contradictory mindset. Somebody like Bull Connor going to church and actively involved in this church, yet preventing sicking dogs on visits. And that ain't every Christian. That's not every believer. But we have to understand and be able to balance. You know, you may be of a different religious belief, spiritual belief, and you may meet a Christian, but you don't want that thought, that mindset that you have on Christian to be like, okay, they gotta be this way, coming in the door. And some of them may be extreme holy rollers and be extra. Some may be completely disconnected. But being able to balance and making sure you're taking you out of it and that you're not labeling even them. Convicts. You have a lot of people that's trying to do in re-entry programs, trying to let people come back in. But what do? Sometimes we prevent them from being a part. And a lot of times we don't know why they have the conviction. We don't think about that. We don't think about they may have been 13, had a little too much weed on them, and now they got this felony charge. You know, we just assumed it had to be a violent criminal act. So these people come and they're trying to get back working, rehabilitated. You see, they're a convict, they're lawbreakers, they're criminal, fear of danger, scary, stuck, stigmatized, trying to catch up, misjudged, disenfranchised, nervous. I don't think about them much at all. Black men, unfair, broken system, full of possibilities. But we're still dealing with infrastructure and system that is set up against convicts. And that history is long. We can go all the way back to Reaganomics, or we can come up a little closer and talk about Bill Clinton and the fight against drugs and these heavy term sentences that they gave people. So you got this much weed, but you end up doing 20 years automatically. How does that play into the story of these kids that you're working with? It may not be them, but they may be affected. I've worked with kids who had never met their parent because the parent was in prison. Never. I worked with one girl, she was in the 3rd grade before the first time she saw her dad. And when he came out, he was the biggest supporter. He was at every ballet recital, every ballet practice. He sat right at that window and watched her. He wanted to walk her home from school, all of that. But he was like, Miss King, I can't get a job anywhere. Nobody wants to hire me. And we're demonizing and we're labeling them. And it's affecting their lives, and not just their lives, but they're affecting these kids' lives. Homeless, victims, complex stories, exhausted, mentally ill, no job, on hard times, transit, hungry, struggles, poor, broken, hungry, tired, lost, sad, lack of hope, lost, mistreated, mental illness. Homeless people, they had once had something else going on. I met a homeless guy one time, a brilliant artist. We got to talking. He said, I used to be a surgeon. Not only did I used to be a surgeon, I used to be a surgeon at Johns Hopkins. And I was like, how do you go from being a surgeon at Johns Hopkins to homeless in Atlanta? How does that happen? His wife got cancer. Bills piled up. Wife passed. Too much pride, didn't want to ask family for help. Lost his house, lost cars, lost everything. So we just started wondering. Ended up in Atlanta. He said, why do people walk around me and they're scared to see me, scared to talk to me? But I was a surgeon. Just got on bad times. Things didn't work out. And that's where he ended up. But we'll look at people that are homeless and we judge them. Oh, they gotta be doing this, they're probably on drugs. They're probably doing some crazy, they're probably mentally ill. And we have kids that are in these schools that may be homeless. You don't know it. They're making it to school. They may be in a shelter. I worked with a family, they had them living in their van for 2 years. A mother with 2 teenage boys in a van. So how does that play into how they're coming into the classroom? Because not only are they homeless, whether you know it or not, but they're homeless, Now they're an at-risk teen. Also a thug. They may be black. Black, oppressed, powerful, beautiful, awesome. Diverse community of people, skin color, unfairly treated. Names of specific friends come to mind. Resourceful, intelligent. People. We are all human, strength, resilient, traditionally disenfranchised and oppressed, discriminated against. Absolutely. All true. All labels that we put on black people. And not just black people. Some of those same labels can be used for Hispanics, for natives, because of the history in this nation, as well as the state.
It's fascinating to me when you look at the labels for black, how positive they are, which I think is good, and how overwhelmingly they are negative for over the mountain in this room. And I think it's fascinating where our heads are at there.
Yeah.
And that can lead to some good things, and it could lead to some really troubling outcomes too. But I think that's fascinating.
And our last one, gay and lesbian, happy, joyful, victimized, homo-educated, persecuted, friends, community, diverse. Names of specific friends come to mind. Hiddenly trying to break barriers. Theater arts, creative, non-binary. We live in the South. Very religious. Maybe extremely religious. And how religious church people feel about our LGBT community. And how non-supportive they can be. And how that spills over into how they're seen outside of the church community. And how they're treated. And all these things, I have a cousin, he's gay and has an HIV status. And him and his sister got in an argument. And she was being real petty, extremely petty, to the nth degree, and decided to put his status out on Facebook. So she puts his status out on Facebook, and a mutual friend that me and his sister had, she was like, oh my God, your cousin just put your cousin out there, put him out there. And I go on Facebook, and I immediately called her, and I said, you take that down now. You're out of order. And that started changing how our family started interacting with him. Because I come from a family of ministers. So then it became, oh, you're going to hell, you need to get your life right with God, blah, blah, blah. I was like, you go to church more than I do. Really? It's still the same person. But your mind goes to all these things, what I think, what does TV say about that community? And all these things we take in when we're watching TV, when we're listening to other people, when we're watching TED Talks, when we're listening to podcasts, when we're reading books, whatever our favorite shows are, all that stuff files in up here. So when we start hearing terms like thug, your brain starts looking for evidence of a thug. Your brain says, okay, I was watching The Wire, and this is what a thug looks like. So you got low riders, he's black, he's a tough guy, and you're looking at this person, it's like, that's him, that's a thug, that's got to be him. Let me walk over here instead. I don't want to sit next to him. At-risk teen. If you watch any PBS school movie, or some crazy Lifetime movie, or 16 and Pregnant on MTV, or whatever, and it's like, these are at-risk teens. They're doing all this crazy stuff. They're doing drugs. They're doing this. Then you get an assignment, and they deem this school a felon school. A lot of at-risk kids. And your brain starts looking for the evidence of what does that look like. As soon as you walk in those doors, and your brain has already identified what that looks like, and you see a kid, that's an at-risk teen. That's what that looks like. Whatever TV tells you about gays and lesbians, or homeless people, when you see that, your brain's like, oh, that's got to be that. Now I know your story. You probably did drugs. You messed around on your family. They probably lost everything. You even wrote a whole story. Religious. That's how religious folk act. They holy roads, they shouting, they throwing oil on people. Over the mountain, we know the stories. Y'all scared of the urban city. You wanna come down here and play, but you don't wanna live here. You got money. Your outfit matches your bag matches your shoes. You Gucci down, or product down. You're driving a big SUV, you're wealthy, your nose is up in the air, you know everything, you're completely disconnected. Or they just got money and they really care about helping the community. That's just a lifestyle they live. I have a friend, Miss Dolly. I love her. Sweetest, cute little, petite little white lady. She's so sweet. And she's like, Marie, whatever I can do, you just let me know. And she truly cares. And she gets it. And she's balling. Like, she got a lot of money. Like, they doing real well. But I can say, Miss Dolly, I need such and such because I got a kid who their house burned down. And I need to get them some clothes as they work through insurance and blah, blah, blah. Miss Dolly called me, she come back with bags. You think you're like Hollister and McCurdy and Finch? And I'm like, how much did you buy? I just wanted a couple of shirts. And she's like, no. Boom, like I'm taking this kid and I'm like, I hope you like Hollister. And I mean, tag still on it, $50, but I'm like, dang, I should have told her I needed something. But you have people that care. They're just in a different tax bracket. I know another lady, we call her MJB. She is the most eccentric white woman I have ever met in my life. She comes to my race panels. She usually, if it's cold, she has on a fur coat, carrying probably a Prada bag. I mean, just as eccentric, but totally gets it. And will get up and say, I'm challenging other white people to do this, this, and this. And means it and don't care. But if you saw her walking around, you're probably like, oh, she's so detached. She has to live in Hollywood or something like that. But once you get to know her, you're like, oh, dang, she's more down than I would even think. So we have to be careful with labels. You know, I always challenge people, what are you watching on TV? What's feeding you? Are you cautious about what you're taking in? I always ask people, if you're watching shows, and I'm a big TV fiend, love television, but if your shows only have people that look like you in it, what does that say about how you're seeing the world? Not that anything's wrong with that. Because I watch shows that are predominantly black too. You know, my family laughs at me because I'm a big fan of Roseanne. I still watch it. It's hilarious to me. Yes, Roseanne was yes. So it's like, what are we? The 90s was just great anyway. But it's like, what are you taking in? And are you feeding stereotypes about what you're choosing to watch? What you choose to listen to? You know, everything that you're taking in, whether it may be authors of books, TV shows, music, podcasts, do all these people look like you? Are you taking in other perspectives? So you can challenge yourself to move out of. So when you hear these stereotypes, you don't automatically jump to some negative. How JW doesn't like the term thug. You know, are we bold enough to challenge people? No, that's not right. Yeah, they may have deemed that school failing because of test scores, but those are some amazing kids. They're doing great things. We're working with them. Yeah, they may come from certain situations and socioeconomic backgrounds, but they're gonna be amazing. And if you go in with that attitude, you're encouraging the kids, you're encouraging their parents by default, because when the kids' minds started changing about how they see their future and their education, they're going home a totally different way. Now the parents are wondering, okay, who are you talking to? Ed, what's Ed? Who is he coming to your school? What is that? Now you got a more chance of getting a parent engaged, because my kid really wants to come to this. These network nights or whatever it is y'all doing, why does he want to go to this so bad? Now you got an opportunity to grab that parent's ear, because you were able to put your biases aside, your background aside, labels and stereotypes aside, to say what I see is this person, this potential. I'm going to build a relationship here. And it doesn't matter that they come from the projects. It doesn't matter.